I refused to sell my tiny bookstore to a billion-dollar developer. 10 years later, he came back with an envelope that changed everything. Everyone thought I was making the biggest mistake of my life. My bookstore wasn't famous. It wasn't profitable. Most months, I barely earned enough to pay the bills. But it had belonged to my grandmother. Every shelf had been built by my grandfather. Every scratch on the wooden floor told a story. So when a real estate developer offered me 5 times the property's value, I refused. He smiled. "You'll regret this." Within a year, construction surrounded my little bookstore. Luxury apartments, coffee chains, designer clothing stores. My customers disappeared. Business got worse. Friends begged me to sell before I lost everything. I almost did. Then one rainy afternoon, a teenage boy walked in. He asked for a book about astronomy. We talked for nearly an hour. Before leaving, he quietly admitted, "I come here because it's the only place nobody laughs when I ask questions." That sentence stayed with me. Instead of giving up, I changed the bookstore. Every Friday evening became free reading night. Students could study without buying anything. Retired teachers volunteered. Children read stories aloud. College students held book clubs. The bookstore slowly became less of a business and more of a community. I still wasn't making much money, but every chair was full. 10 years passed. Then one morning, a black car stopped outside. Out stepped the same developer. He looked much older. He walked straight to the counter. "I owe you an apology," I laughed. "I think you're 10 years late." He smiled sadly. "Probably." Then he handed me a thick envelope. Inside were newspaper articles, photos, letters. One letter caught my eye. It was written by the teenage boy who'd once asked for the astronomy book. He was no longer a teenager. He was now an astrophysicist working on an international space mission. His letter read, "If this bookstore had closed, I would have dropped out of school. Mrs. Harper believed in me before anyone else did. I learned more about life between these shelves than anywhere else." Tears filled my eyes. The developer quietly explained, "That scientist is my son." I stared at him. "I didn't know." "Neither did I. My ex-wife brought him here every Friday after our divorce. He told me recently this bookstore saved his future." The room fell silent. Then came the twist. The envelope also contained legal documents. The developer had purchased every neighboring property. He wasn't asking me to leave. He was donating one of the empty buildings next door. So the bookstore can expand. No rent, no conditions. I looked at him, completely speechless. "Why?" He smiled. "I spent my career building expensive buildings." My son reminded me, people remember the places that built them. A year later, the new building opened. Half bookstore, half free learning center. Every wall displayed photographs of former visitors. Teachers, doctors, artists, mechanics, parents. People whose lives had quietly changed because someone once recommended the right book. Looking back, refusing to sell wasn't the smartest financial decision. It was simply the decision I could live with. Sometimes success isn't measured by money. Sometimes it's measured by the people who carry a small piece of your kindness for the rest of their lives. If you were offered enough money to change your life forever, would you sell something that held your family's legacy? Or keep it, even if it meant struggling for years? Comment below what you think.